supposed to be the day when there was a partial lift of the lockdown across India. The government made it clear that certain sectors like agriculture would see an easing of the lockdown, and there would be a restart in industrial activity, especially in rural areas and in areas which have not been affected by the COVID-19, are not containment zones or are not hotspots. Well, today is 20th April, and if we take a look at what actually has begun to limp back to normalcy, it shows that many sectors are still on the brink, waiting and watching. If you look at the auto sector, Motown has not been able to really move forward for a variety of reasons, nor has retail or consumer durables, because several of them are figuring out how to function under the new circumstances. One specific factor has also been the change of mind within the government almost at the nth hour on whether e-commerce companies can begin non-essential ferrying of goods and sale of goods or not. In part, that happened because of a lot of pressure and hue and cry raised by traditional retailers, the brick and mortar stores, saying that this was not a level playing field. So was this the right decision? And how can we ensure that we take the baby steps we need to towards a lift of lockdown and restoration of economic activity, because that is a crucial part of the plan as well. To speak on this, I'm joined today by Suchi Mukherjee, who is the founder and CEO of LimeRoad, as well as Praveen, Khandelwal, Secretary General of the Confederation of All India Traders. Welcome to both of you, and thank you for speaking with us today. Great to have you on the show. Suchi, let me begin just by getting your thoughts on this. It seemed unfair. It seemed unfair because if someone sitting at home during lockdown can buy a mobile phone, or an iron online, why should the store owners who have been waiting it out as well not have the level playing field?
So, Tamanna, thanks a lot for doing the show. It's a very, very important topic and really top of mind. We went into lockdown with a big bang approach. All of us literally followed our Prime Minister's desire to be in lockdown, and we went there. But coming out of lockdown cannot be big bang. It has to be, like you said, baby steps. It has to be phased. Now, as we phase this come back of the economy, we must take account of those sectors where the opening up can happen with minimal amount of risk. Now that is possible, and in our case, we represent 5 to 10,000 active SMB sellers who manufacture product within apparel in the country. These sellers can safely come back and start selling online. And once they start selling online over the next 2 weeks, we learn what operational challenges there are, and that learning can be used to open up offline as well. It is going to be very difficult to open up all of retail together. And so just like, Modi ji defined this as war. In a war, you never send all your cavalry together forward. You send some first and then the rest. We were just going to be the guinea pigs. We would try it out. We would try it out safely. We'd learn and we'd feedback data and learnings so that our offline partners can also open up. I think that was a very, very prudent plan. And it's very unfortunate that that plan got cancelled.
Okay, let me get Mr. Khandelwal's take on that. And, she puts it well, Mr. Khandelwal. You have to give credit to Suchi, saying that, we were the guinea pigs. Let something open up at least. And couldn't this have been an opportunity for greater collaboration to keep this offline versus online rift behind us and work together?
Well, thank you for adding me to this topic, which is very important. And I would have respected the views of Suchi if really these views were in its own letter and spirit. Unfortunately not. Because time and again, the Prime Minister has reiterated that people's movement in the country should be restricted to bare minimum. That is point number one. Point number two is, what is the guarantee that if e-commerce is allowed, they will be delivering the goods in a safe condition? We have two examples. One is in Noida, where a delivery boy of a particular company infected with corona and went to 72 houses. The other example of another company in Hyderabad yesterday, again, there was a delivery boy who was infected with corona. Point number three is, why always the offliners are made the scapegoat? Well, it is totally unfair in a country like India, where more than 40 lakh traders dealing in essential goods since the day of lockdown are serving the needs of the people at their doorstep, risking their lives. And where were these e-commerce companies during the period of lockdown? It was my 40 lakh traders who came to the rescue of the citizens of the country. And I think you will appreciate that there is no dearth of essential commodity. Every citizen is getting equal share of and whatever he demands. And my last point is that what is the need of creating an uneven level playing field? And at this point of time, when essential commodities movement is all the more necessary, what were the circumstances? When we need a refrigerator or we need a TV, of course, we can buy it after 14 days, no problem. So
Mr. Khandelwal, one minute. I get completely agree that here the retailers, the traders came to the rescue of people. A lot of e-commerce companies could not keep the supply chains up. But on the point of, do we really need more items, at this point? More and more people are working from home. Someone might need a new phone right now. Someone might need a new laptop right now. And you don't want manufacturers also, even the smaller ones, to be sitting without any business. This could have been a start.
Tamanna, in that case, it was better, instead of allowing the e-commerce companies, the government would have identified certain shops, because those shops are neighborhood shops. Some shops to be identified near the locality, and they should have been allowed for restricted movements with all safety precautions. So we could have executed it in a better way than e-commerce companies. So what is the need of bringing e-commerce for non-essential
Suchi wants to come in. Suchi wants to come in. Yeah.
I think in a situation, Praveen ji, in a situation like COVID, this cannot be us versus you. It cannot be that. It must be together, because the reality of this thing is that the 10,000 domestic manufacturers we work with every day in our sector are actually hit extremely badly. If we can open up offline in small doses, online in small doses, Praveen ji, it doesn't matter who goes first. It matters that somebody goes first. It is very important that we pave a path to opening up one by one. It does not matter, but it does matter that it doesn't become us versus you. It is extremely damaging to the industry.
Suchi, I just have a point there. My point is that lakhs and lakhs of domestic producers, small producers, are already in existence with the offline traders since a long time. E-commerce is an evolution of almost 5 or 10 years. Prior to that, all these manufacturers were associated with offline retailers in a large number. And since they create a magnificent ecosystem, the offline retailers were in a better position to serve the citizens by observing all kinds of security measures what our traders dealing in essential commodities are.
Suchi, what the issue is? What the issue is with this? And I want to tie it up to the larger point that we're trying to make. The fact is that a number of manufacturing plants who are legitimately allowed to start operations from today also are not able to for a variety of reasons, maybe supply chain, maybe labor issues. There are some conditionalities about keeping employees on the premise. They're not able to do it. So it is going to be, one at a time. The point is this a very haphazard kind of policy? You have seen a situation today where the state of Kerala wants to open some shops, which would come in the non-essential category. So they feel safe about it. The central government is saying, no, we don't. Could this have been a more nuanced kind of a plan? Because you will have to integrate offline and online. This is now a redundant fight considering COVID is on.
Yes, so Tamanna, I think that actually it's not offline versus online. It is a singularly threaded policy that says we cannot all of a sudden go from being shut to open the next day. It won't happen that way. So we need a phased approach. In that phased approach, what are the sectors that can open with minimum health risks? Now, to give you an example, as we prepared for the opening on the 20th, we worked with our seller partners on three things. Number one, inventory. There's a lot of inventory pile up in their warehouse already. That inventory will serve them for at least the next 6 to 8 weeks. So inventory pile up actually is the problem. Lack of inventory is not immediately the problem. Number two, a lot of that is seasonal. If we don't allow people to open up gradually, whether offline, whether online, but we have to make them open up, because otherwise all of that seasonal inventory will go wasted. And number three, I think as it comes down to whether it's state versus center, different states and different, there has to be a unified policy on whether trucks can move up and down or not. As long as that policy is unified, I think, Tamanna, we had a great plan. And Praveen ji, offline would have opened 2 weeks after. I don't think this is about level playing field. This is about let somebody go first, learn, move, and we could have opened every week. We can open a little bit every week. I think my only humble submission is that we have to aid the government to just start opening up.
Suchi,
so by cancelling the opening up, we've actually got...
Okay, I want to start working towards a solution. Let's look at possible solutions, because clearly it is difficult. And you had Union Minister Piyush Goyal putting this point out as well when he said at least there's a level playing field. Politically, in fact, you had the opposition party, the Congress, also congratulating the government for pushing this away. So politically, it's very difficult for anyone in government to upset lakhs and lakhs of traders. Okay, that's the political part of it. Let's look at the practical part of it. Praveen, Khandelwal, the fact is that a lot of small businesses which come in the non-essential category are looking at a complete pivot even 6 to 8 months from here.
That's true.
Things are going to change. Is this an opportunity to partner with those companies who have established some kind of a supply chain for e-commerce and funnel your goods there? Because everyone has to survive and thrive.
Tamanna, I would have been pleased if certain, within brackets, certain e-commerce companies, those who are ruling the e-commerce market, if they are really bothered about the sellers, those who are registered with them. Unfortunately, these e-commerce companies are grossly flouting the FDI norms of the government of India, as also they are indulging into predatory pricing, deep discounting, loss funding. And actually, if you just go through the record, I have the records of all these companies, their 80 to 90% business is carried out by their own companies. Like in Amazon, it is Cloudtail and Appareo, like that. So the business is concentrated on certain hands. So what Suchi is saying is an ideal situation, but unfortunately, these e-commerce companies are not following this ideal situation. My second point is, if their system is so robust, then why they did not serve the people of India when e-commerce was badly needed because of essential commodities, and why the onus came on the traders and risking their lives? We made everything available. So they don't have that system. So,
Okay.
And what Suchi,
Okay, Suchi, okay,
just-
one minute. Suchi,
and-
you must respond to how, in categories where e-commerce was allowed. E-commerce was allowed in several categories as well. And it could not come up to par. In fact, I think food delivery has still managed, but in terms of essentials, grocery items, etc., they're still struggling. So here your traditional supply chains and your neighborhood kirana store actually came out in time of need.
Okay, so let me respond, Praveenji, to you in three parts here. So number one, how did we all fare, right, during the last 21 days? So the reality is that my local sabzi wala, even today, has jacked up the prices of everything because he says, Didi sabzi nahi mil raha hai. Okay.
Sorry, I won't agree. I have my objection. I won't agree to it. I won't agree to it.
One by one.
Praveenji. But the reality is, he is opening his stall every day. That's the truth. And that respect, we have a lot of respect for that. In fact, today when I went out and I was laughing, I said, I can see that. So whatever sells for 30 rupees is now selling for 60 rupees. That's reality number one. Reality alongside that, reality number two is that my local grocer, I send a list on WhatsApp. They come once in every 2 days. That's just my experience in Gurgaon. Now, what did the e-commerce companies do? The e-commerce companies faced, I am not a grocer and I'm not in the e-pharmacy business. So I can't respond for everybody who is. But I can tell you that everybody who was in the grocery business and in the e-pharmacy business did whatever they could to actually deliver the product. Even today offline, my order to my grocer, it gets delivered. He's local. He's 2 minutes away, but he says, "Jab time milega, aake de jaunga." And typically that's 30% of my order. These are reality. I have no complaint.
Wait.
Tamanna, just for a minute, I'll come to you. Just for a minute, I have a question for you. Suchi has alleged that the traders have jacked the prices. Tell me very honestly. Suchi, just a minute. Tamanna, you tell me very honestly. Whether you got the prices, you got the products at a higher price?
Praveenji, that is not...
Suchi, let me...
Praveenji, since you have asked me this question, Mr. Khandelwal, since you have asked me this question, my experience in my locality has been that yes, for certain fruits and vegetables, prices have been jacked up.
Yes.
But I am happy to pay because I understand the risks they are taking.
Exactly.
I understand the risks they are taking. I do not know what circumstances they are going to far-flung mandis and bringing essentials from. I'm happy to pay. I'm one of those people who is no longer even bargaining. I don't think anyone should bargain for a few rupees here and there. But I don't think that is the moot question.
That's not the point.
The moot question is, let me just bring back the discussion because again, like I said, this might seem like a pitted online versus offline conversation, but it is about activity resuming in the country.
Correct.
Whether it is manufacture of biscuits and then the sale of them, whether it is the manufacture of, clothes or any small items, to survive beyond this in the next 6 months, work needs to start. The engines need to start, which is why, Mr. Khandelwal, I will give you the last word with a simple question. Do you think there is a way that can be found for some businesses to start offline, online, and all of it for the common good and to move economic activity?
I don't mind. Rather, I will support you. But in a country like India, you should be given equal opportunity. If there has to be some kind of mandate on both the verticals, whether it is e-commerce or it is offline. And in such a situation, there is no question of offline or online. Ultimately, it is the poor citizen of the country who has to get the items which they need badly. So if equal opportunity is given, say for instance, mobiles. If government allows e-commerce to sell mobiles, what I am requesting that my offline retailers should also be allowed, but I will be happy if the numbers of those shops should be reduced to minimum. I don't want to open a Pandora of corona. But at the same time, yes, government can identify, okay, this street will open from 7 to 10. The other street will open from 11 to 3.
Okay.
If this approach is needed.
Okay, I need to wrap this conversation.
Tamanna, one word, if you may please, and that is just a request. Praveenji, don't make this about FDI and all of that. That is an old fight. That's an old fight. We have to forget what's old. Right now, our only goal must be, let's get out of this COVID situation. Let's open for business. Let's open for business and let's work together.
Suchi, I'm perfectly in agreement with you. But equal treatment is possible, is required. That is all we are asking about. See.
All right. I love conversations which end with both warring sides agreeing. So on that note, Suchi, Praveen, Khandelwal, both of you represent services we all desperately need, because we need businesses to run, we need employment to be generated, we need to plan for life after COVID-19 as well. And we all want to see the back of this problem as soon as possible. So with that, I want to thank both of you for joining us on the discussion this evening.
Thank you, Tamanna.
Thank you.
Thank you.